This is Keep On Cooking, a podcast for people who love cookbooks and want to know more about the authors. It's also a great place to get a weekly dose of culinary inspiration to keep things pumping in the kitchen. So grab a cookbook and keep on cooking. I'm Dustin Harder, and this is Keep On Cooking. Hello and welcome to Keep On Cooking, the only podcast dedicated to plant-based cookbooks. I'm your host, Dustin Harder, and it's the first solo episode of 2024. Here we are. Happy New Year. I'm just, living my best life. Got a package from Michelle's Granola today. Let me tell you about granola in this house, okay? I love granola. Also, I should warn you at the top of this episode, I've been listening to Barbara Streisand's memoir on audiobook. And first of all, if you haven't heard about it already, it is 42 hours long. That's not an exaggeration. That's actually the timestamp on the book on audiobooks. And so I've listened to it. I've actually sped it up just a skosh to like 1.2 speed. And that makes it sound as though it's being spoken at normal speed. She's just taking her time. The gal's taking her time, telling you stories. I guess it's like 927 pages, a friend told me. When I mentioned to them that it was that long, they looked up like the page number on it. But it's fascinating, but also it's just, she talks with such, she's just telling you a story. And that's sort of the way she's going to tell it. So maybe I'll just do the podcast today in the style of Barbara Streisand in celebration of her memoir on audiobook. I really like granola. I can't do it. I can't talk that slow. Anyway, so I love granola, and Michelle's Granola just sent us a package in the mail. And honey, first of all, I love all granola, but like so much so that David hides it from me out of request. I was like, David, I would like to, purchase this granola. Let's purchase said granola. I'm going to have a serving, and then please, the rest is yours, because he has self-control like that, where I do not. Now, when you put Michelle's granola in the mix, which, if we're not somewhere where they have Michelle's granola, if we're on a road trip or something, we might buy another brand, but really, we are pretty tried and true Michelle's granola because it is outstanding. And they just sent a package in the mail, and I got it. It's sitting here, and David's out of town working on a gig today. And he went last night. He stayed the night. He's there today, and it arrived in the mail last night. And I was like, I could eat all this now and never tell him it's even here. Because it's just that good. I love Michelle's granola so much. So my goal is to savor it. Have myself a little portion here, a little portion there. Maybe I'll make a little recipe with some of it as well. But I've got Michelle's granola waiting for me in the wings. I also have got some mushrooms that were sitting in my fridge. And I was like, what can I do with this? So I popped open. I want to talk about my book, The Simply Vegan Cookbook, which was my first cookbook, came out in 2018. So we're on like the 6-year anniversary of it now. Yeah, because it came out February 6th. 2018. So the 6-year anniversary is coming up. And I was like, what I love about this book is that I wrote it according to ingredients. So each chapter goes by ingredient. There's a mushroom chapter. So I was like, what do I got? There's a mushroom stroganoff in there. So I'm going to make that when I get off the horn, get off from recording this episode for you today. So I'm excited to make that stroganoff. It requires a little vegan sour cream, and I had just purchased some Kite Hill sour cream because I was at Publix, and Upton's Naturals now has more products available at Publix. So I got us some fajitas stuffed. I got their chorizo to make some fajitas the other night, and of course then I said, well, what plant-based sour cream do they have? And I got the Kite Hill sour cream, which I gotta be honest about some Kite Hill products. They're not my favorite thing in the world. And the sour cream is a little bland. In the Simply Vegan Cookbook, there's a cashew cream you can make, of course, in lieu of a store-bought sour cream. I love making stuff from scratch, but if you want something in a pinch, and I actually have some cashew cream in the fridge. I got the Kite Hill sour cream because I wanted to try it. so I could share with y'all how I felt about it. Not the biggest fan, to be honest. It'll be nice in the sauce, it'll be nice and creamy and luscious, thicken it up a little bit, and I'll put a little pinch of salt in it. It'll be fine. But like, I'd rather make my own sour cream than buy the Kite-Hill one. If I were to be honest, I made a berry sauce this morning, a mixed berry sauce. I had some raspberries, blackberries in the fridge, and I was like, I want like a little syrupy sauce that I can put into the muesli that I got from Michelle's Granola, because I've been on a big muesli kick too. So I made this berry sauce. It's so yummy, delicious. Just blended up all the berries, and then I put it through a mesh strainer so you get rid of all the the granules from the seeds, and it's nice and creamy and smooth. Mix that into my berries. I got a little pop of sweet, little pop of tangy in there. So yummy. Of course, I could just eat the fruit too. I was just feeling adventurous, so I made myself this little sauce. Which brings me to, y'all, my new book, The Power Foods Diet. It's written by Dr. Neil Barnard, but I developed half of the recipes in the book, focuses on power food ingredients for weight management, but also just delicious food made with beans, whole grains, vegetables, fruits. I developed over half the recipes for the book. Lindsay S. Nixon developed the other half, and I did all the food photography for the book. I did the cover of the book, the photo that's on the cover of the book. So the name of the book is The Power Foods Diet. That's coming out March 26th, but it's available for pre-order now. I'll put the link for pre-order down in the show notes here so you can click on it, pre-order yourself a copy. Lots of great scientific research and information from Dr. Barnard, and of course some case studies in the book on why these ingredients are considered power foods. And then I've got some recipes to back it all up for you. So I'm really excited about that. We're going to be doing some press events for the book, of course, and then even like a virtual online cooking club. So I'll give you more information about that as it becomes available. Excited to share that with you, but I hope you'll check it out. Again, it's called The Power Foods Diet, available for pre-order now. And why are we here today? So I've went down a little the other day on a call. My friend, my supervisor, Jill Eckert, shout out, love you, darling. She mentioned, we were on a call and she goes, oh, I just made this lovely pumpkin milk that I used to make all the time. I'd forgotten about the recipe. It's by Annie Fio. And I was like, I love Annie Fio. And she is a raw food chef. And so I looked behind me on my bookshelf. I pulled out this book I'm holding up right now, Annie's Raw Food Kitchen. Also, if you're watching this episode, apologies, my darlings. We are moving in about 4 months or so. So we are in the process of tearing our home apart. So I put some stuff back up on the wall behind me, but I really like, if David sees this, he's going to be like, I can't believe you're showing our home like this. But it's kind of bare minimum in our home because we are shedding a lot. One of my goals in 2024, it's not a resolution, just a fun goal, is to read one book a month. And I'm currently reading Goodbye Things, a book about minimalism. And it's an okay book. It's more from the personal perspective of the author, and sort of like a memoir is what it comes off as opposed to like a how-to in minimalism. But it's great to get someone's thoughts who really lives a minimalist lifestyle. I'm not going to be a minimalist, so I'm not sitting here being like, it's just going to be me, David, white walls, and a trash can. No, but we are just trying to get inspired to really get rid of stuff, right? Especially doing food photography and recipe developing from home. I find myself with a lot of things. And so I'm going to really pare it down for the move. We're moving to Chicago. I'm sure we've said this a million times. We're very excited about it. But all that to say, our home is in a bit of a disarray. And I didn't want to sit up in the kitchen where I usually am because I recently had hernia surgery. So it hurts for me to sit up on a stool like that right now. Anyways, so much information in this first bit. I was talking about Annie Fio and this book, Annie's Raw Food Kitchen, where Jill mentioned the pumpkin milk. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've got everything for that. As you can see, if you're watching, there's Post-its all in this book. I loved this book. I think for me, the journey of a vegan, and this is a great thing to say here in Veganuary, we're in January. Lots of people are trying plant-based diets and plant-based recipes. And I had a great interview yesterday with Lois Ellen Frank on her book, Plant to Seed, Seed to Soil. I might have gotten those words mixed up, but she'll be on. I'll say the correct title 110% for sure. Then plate to seed, seed to plate, plate to soil. No, that wouldn't be right. Soil to I'm going to look it up for you right now so you know what I'm talking about. But I had her on yesterday and she was talking about her teachings and how, she's not necessarily convincing people to go vegan or all plant-based. She is simply talking about being plant forward, incorporating more vegetables into your diet. Seed to plate, soil to sky. Thank you, my goodness. Seed to plate, soil to sky. That is the name of the book by Lois Ellen Frank, Modern Plant-Based Recipes Using Native American Ingredients. We will have her later on. You'll get to hear a lot more about that book. But the idea of incorporating more plants, right? And no matter if you go all the way plant-based or not, I like that approach for people because it allows them to take things at their own speed, not get overwhelmed. So I have to say that to you here in Veganuary, January. If you're listening to get some of that new plant-based inspiration, take it at your own pace. It's your own speed. Or dive right in. You can really go any speed you want, but often I think for a lot of vegans, sometimes you start to explore when you get into a vegan lifestyle, you start to explore the different nuances in it. And one of them is a raw food diet and raw food cooking, right? Now, I never personally have gone completely raw. But I have dabbled in the cooking of it so much because it's fascinating to me, the things you can do with a dehydrator, all the things you can just blend up to make yummy this and that. So I've had a dehydrator now ever since I've had this book, Annie's Raw Food Kitchen. I've had it now for, over a decade. And I just replaced that dehydrator I had for a good decade, and I just replaced it with a brand new one. Love my brand new one. The other one was just kind of like looking at me like, why are you still trying to do this to me? I'm barely running. So I was like, okay, it's time. So I got a new dehydrator, and I love making raw food. Don't do it all the time, but it's fun to play with, like I said. But Jill mentions this pumpkin milk in here. So I grab the book, I make the milk. It's delicious. I see the Post-its. I'm reminded how much I love this book. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to cover Annie's Raw Food Kitchen. And I go to look Annie up. And this gal has been off the grid for at least a decade. Okay. And so, because I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll have her on if I can get in touch with her. And I remember I looked into this a year ago and I remember seeing the same thing. And then I got busy and kind of like forgot about trying to reach out to her. So I've sent some outreach emails to see if we can find out where in the world is Annie Fio and get her on here and chat with her. If not, I will be covering this book on my own. But what I also found was interesting. So a couple years ago, I ordered the book Raw Vegan, Not Gross by Lauren Miller, who also hosted the popular Tastemade YouTube show of the same name, Raw Vegan, Not Gross. I looked her up a couple years ago, and it was the same thing. She kind of went off the grid around 2018, and Annie around 2016, it looks like. And I just have to wonder, like, is that, like, maybe there's something there with the mind-body connection. These raw foodists and raw chefs really seem to a lot of them, this is not a general statement, but at least reading for these two, they have, they're very intuitive into what is healthy for them and what's healthy for their brains and their bodies. So there's got to be something in this where they've both said, no social media. Perhaps that's not the healthiest. So I just find that very intriguing. I've been a fan of Lauren Miller's for as long as I can remember, because when I was researching starting the Vegan Roadie, my vegan travel culinary series, of course I looked into shows that already existed, and Lauren Miller's Raw Vegan Not Gross already existed on Tastemade, and I loved it. She's so quirky, she's so fun. She, isn't there to preach it all. She's there to educate through entertaining, which very much obviously speaks to me. She dresses up in silly costumes. I remember an episode where she dances around in like a music video dressed up as a banana, I think. On the cover of this book alone, she's dressed in a skirt made of asparagus. There's lots of fun pictures throughout where she's using ingredients in here in a silly way. And I just saw when I was, again, researching for this online, someone who had posted a picture of her where she's got like grapes on her head. Was it grapes? What was on her head? Something was on her head as like a crown. Bananas. It was a whole bunch of bananas that sat over her head as a crown, and it reminded me how much I adore her. Let's talk about her a little bit. Laura Miller is the creator and star of the hit show Raw, Vegan, Not Gross on YouTube's Tastemade channel. Seen over it has over 7 million views. Her irreverent approach to raw food, as well as her quirky and gorgeous wearable produce, have garnered her a devoted following and national press coverage. Prior to Raw, Vegan, Not Gross, Laura ran a raw vegan desserts company in San Francisco called Side Saddle Kitchen. She lives in California with her musician husband and Akita Pitbull rescue dog, Buzz. Now, this is an old bio because, like I said, she's been off the grid. And in her final post, I mean, final as of now, on Instagram, there she's pictured with a child. So I'm guessing she had a baby and she's embracing motherhood. I also saw a photo of her on a video. One of the last videos posted on YouTube was with a YouTube channel called Mother, where she was speaking on being a mother. So whatever she's doing, I wish her happiness living off the grid. We're here to celebrate this book today. Raw, Vegan, Not Gross, all vegan and mostly raw recipes for people who love to eat. Whether you already love vegan food or need some convincing, YouTube star Laura Miller offers more than 100 entirely vegan and mostly raw recipes for all people who want to eat deliciously. Raw, Vegan, Not Gross is the debut cookbook from YouTube's Tastemade star Laura Miller. A soon-to-be modern classic, Raw, Vegan, Not Gross will engage your taste buds with strengthening breakfast, coconut kale smoothies, strawberry chia pudding, easy weeknight dinners, black bean and squash blossom tacos, kale pesto with noodles, crowd-pleasing party food, spicy watermelon gazpacho, and buffalo cauliflower bites, irresistible drinks and desserts, lavender turmeric milk, chili coconut truffles, and many more nutritious, satisfying dishes that are as beautiful and fun to make as they are healthful. Eschewing a strict or dogmatic approach to raw veganism, Laura's self-deprecating humor, candor about issues of food and body image, and infectious enthusiasm make her the ideal guide to and travel companion for people who want to fall back in love with produce or simply celebrate the joy of real good food. Isn't that great? I love that summary of the book. And of course, the book opens up with an intro. The photos in here are really great too. They're by David Loftus, and opens up with an intro where she speaks to several topics, starting with how to use the book, of course, how to use the book, the ingredients in the book, all that sort of stuff, where this weirdo came from, a little bit of her history, you get that in there, and how she became vegan. And then she talks about a bit about her adventures into raw food eating and cooking. And I want to read a couple pages from the book, actually, because I want you to understand and hear her voice a little bit if you haven't watched Raw, Vegan, Not Gross, so you can get where she's coming from, because I love her perspective of choosing what's right for you, essentially. So here we go. This section is entitled The Cult. In 2007, there weren't any real raw food schools or training programs, or at least none that I knew of that were affordable. So I opted for an apprenticeship at a raw food retreat center in the desert in the Southwest. From the moment I got there, though, I knew it wasn't the right place for me. It wasn't just that all of the interns were crammed into one room to sleep, or that pipes froze on day 2 when everyone was detoxing from the food. I'll spare you the gory details, but it was 25 sick people sharing one bathroom, and it was gross. This center was all about restrictions, like not eating fruit because it had too much sugar. I would later learn that there is an entire sect of the raw food world that eats only fruit, but that's a whole other thing. Not eating onions or garlic because they were too stimulating might cause people to fart in the meditation center, and a slew of other limitations. There was an apprentice there who went by the name Dandelion. I'm pretty sure he had just changed his name on the drive-in. I remember a few people sitting around talking about a man who lived on sunlight alone, and they were talking about what a legend he was. Like it was this amazing thing to aspire to. No. That guy never has sex. These were not my people. I wanted lush, sexy, juicy, bright, fun food and people, and sometimes I wanted them with a side of tequila. By this point in my life, I had known enough people with eating disorders that this way of thinking about food raised my hackles. What this place was offering and pushing felt like a glorified eating disorder disguised as a health movement. That was it. I needed out. On the third day, I went to the guy in charge and told him I had a change of heart. Then I packed up my truck and drove 14 hours home, stopping only for gas and grilled cheese sandwiches. I decided that my love affair with raw vegan food was over. So I just love the way she sort of is honest about her first encounter with raw vegan food, right? She goes on in another section to say, here's where it gets real. I basically just started to realize that the one thing I was passionate about was a total sham. I no longer had a job. My relationship with my mountain man was on the outs, and I had no idea that what I wanted to be doing. I moved back home to live with my parents, and it was then when I finally took a moment to stop charging ahead and just breathe that I had the big meltdown. I'm talking big. I'm talking I don't want to be alive anymore. Big. I fell apart. It wasn't pretty. This is the part where I tell you that healthy eating doesn't solve all of life's problems. I mean, sure, if you don't feel right, it makes sense to take all the steps within your control to feel better. That's meaning exercising, eating well, getting enough sleep, and making sure you're surrounding yourself with positive people. But if you're doing all of these things and still feel terrible, or if you're suffering too much, or even start doing those things, you need some outside help. I found a psychologist who saved my life and who introduced me to the idea that I'd been living with a severe anxiety disorder and essentially just white knuckling it for about 15 years. She helped me take active steps to get better. I want to emphasize the fact that getting outside help is not a cop-out. It's smart and brave, and it's just another step in doing the work to get better. I'd say that it took about 3 years to get back on my feet, and it was very challenging and a dark time for me, but it was worth it. During this time, I was probably still eating mostly vegan, but definitely not on purpose. I felt like I'd gone through a breakup with raw food after realizing that the cult was a sham, and it was an ex that I didn't want to put any more energy into. I was still interested in plant-based eating, but not at the expense of holistic well-being. Feeling better is the whole reason I got into raw food. Nutrition and wellness are very personal issues for me. I care so much about people having healthier relationships with their bodies and minds. So that's a little glimpse into the intro of the book, Laura's history, and sort of her perspective on food, right? I love that she says the things she cares about most are people having healthier relationships with food, their bodies and minds. And I have to say, girl, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. She opened her own kitchen called Side Saddle Kitchen. I believe it was a dessert kitchen. She started doing recipe videos. And then, she did her Tastemade thing. She got into it and made those TV shows. A great photo here from the jump when we're ending the intro. Or made those YouTube shows with Tastemade that everyone loves. But here she is with mushrooms, surrounded by mushrooms, looking fashionable. I'm showing, if you're watching here, if you're listening, you know why I was taking a pause there. I was showing it. She gets into the basics of fermented veggies, healthy fats, dark leafy greens, hydration, being alkaline, Vitamix, Blendtec, Ninja, Good Knives, all the equipment here, food processor, mandolin, spiralizer, dehydrator. Y'all, I did just get rid of our spiralizer as we're cleaning out. I just didn't use it. I love the idea of a spiralized veggie, but whenever I did it, they're fun. Not satisfied. I'm going to be honest about it. A microplane, she says, is a great one. Sweeteners, stevia, coconut sugar, maple syrup, raw honey. Oh, she's using honey in here. She said, well, it's not vegan. I love using raw honey. Make sure that it's actually raw, though. Unpasteurized and unfiltered honey should be not. Well, I mean, not my thing, but I'm really surprised to see honey in here. Wow. She goes over pantry ingredients. And then we're at breakfast, and it starts off with a beautiful stack of pancakes, my friends. Of course, if she mentions honeyware in this book, if you've been listening by now, you got this. You can swap that out with some agave, my babies. You don't need to go using the honey if you don't want to. Now, listen, she says, eating breakfast is important. This is your one opportunity to put some serious nutrition in your body before the day gets crazy. Eating breakfast gets your metabolism going and sets you up to make better food choices throughout the rest of the day. That said, you don't want to just throw any old thing in your body. You need plant-based fat, protein, and nutrients that are going to keep you going strong and that will prevent you from having a sugar crash at 10 a.m. My sisters and I weren't allowed to eat sugared cereals unless we were on vacation or it was a holiday. Otherwise, we weren't permitted to get any cereal in which sugar was listed earlier than the fourth ingredient. So on every shopping trip, you could find all three Miller girls trolling the cereal aisle, just praying that at least one frosted cereal would fit the bill. That's funny. None ever did, but the experience made a lasting impact on all of us about how much ingredients matter and forced us to get creative about feeding our sweet tooth. So we've got the banana pancakes to start things off, avocado grapefruit bowls. So these are avocados with the inside filled with grapefruit. Listen, I love avocado and I love grapefruit. To me, that creamy, decadent, luscious sort of avocado paired with that citrusy, sour grapefruit, it really doesn't get much better to me than that. She's pairing it with a little bit of basil and maple syrup too, so you're getting a nice punch of sweetness in there and some earthy tones from the basil. I love that. Great recipe for crepes in here for breakfast, and a hazelnut chocolate spread. What's that? That's Nutella, right? So she's making us a nice Nutella in here. Ginger maple granola. Talking about that granola. Again, here's my thing with granola too. I can't make it because I eat it all. Because then in my brain, whenever I make something, I'm like, well, it's cool. I can eat all of it because I made it. I know every single ingredient that's in there. I can eat all of it right now in one sitting. I got problems, y'all. I got problems. There's a granola I got a granola in two of my books actually. But there's one in my Epic Vegan Quick and Easy book. It's like a cherry peanut butter granola. Ooh, I learned my lesson there. That's when I was like, I'm not allowed to just make granola anymore. I've got to get it. I got to have my portion. David has to be in charge of the granola. He holds the keys to the granola door. But ginger maple granola sounds so yummy and delicious in here. A Feel Better green shake. This has almond milk, kale, and apple, grapefruit, cinnamon, cucumber, banana, grated ginger, and a little pinch of stevia to give a pop of sweet. I actually do the same in my green smoothies. So I'll typically make a green smoothie. For anyone out there who's like feeling lost in the green smoothie land, don't overthink it. This can be the easiest thing you add into your day to make sure you're getting a healthy dose of leafy greens. Do, a couple handfuls of greens, a little bit of fruit, and then a pinch of your sweetener of choice, and you're like good to go. I tend to use stevia or monk fruit, but really you can, or maple syrup, you can use whatever you want. Apple cinnamon parfait, delicious. She makes a buckwheat crunchy from scratch in here with buckwheat, maple syrup, cinnamon, salt, and stevia. She's got a cashew cream she uses for sort of the yogurty part of it. And then she's got baked apples all piled in here too. Good stuff. Cocoa buckwheat crispies. Ooh! So let's read the intro of this. I've been a big fan of buckwheat groats ever since I started getting into raw food. As someone who was experiencing sticker shock, a lot of the other raw food ingredients, groats were my salvation. Now, see, that's real. Sticker shock is a real thing in the raw food world. David and I, we got this great juicer for it. It's called Sovider, Sovider. They sent it to us to try, and we're actually in love with it. We've had juicers before, and we end up, donating them or selling them because they're just a pain to clean. This one has been so amazing that we're really into just making juices right now. But buying all those veggies all the time and then juicing them, that gets pricey. So I love the real talk about sticker shock here. So she says raw food ingredients gave her sticker shock, and groats were her salvation. They're really cheap, especially if you can find them in bulk section. Groats are actually seeds that, when soaked and dehydrated or baked, become crispy, airy, and a little bit nutty. They also have a crunch that is incredibly satisfying in granolas and cereals. So when I'm looking at this, though, to me, it's making me think of like Cocoa Puffs, So come on, cereal. I love that. A breakfast roll up. Ooh, she's rolling up almond butter and a banana into a charred leaf. I love a way of incorporating greens into a breakfast. I don't know if that one's so much for me, but I do love that idea, and it's for somebody out there. Laura Miller, for example, she's into it. Alkalinizing morning cleanser. So this is warm water and lemon with some extra add-in options here, like ground cayenne, grated fresh ginger, and turmeric. Yum, yum. Turmeric tonic. She's got a nice little beverage in here with turmeric tonic with persimmons, lemons, and fresh turmeric root. Blackberry chia muffins. Actually, I made these. I remember I made these and they were yummy. I made these. So I probably got this book actually 2 or 3 years ago. And I made these. It's got a base of almond flour and gluten-free oat flour, coconut sugar. Of course, it's got the chia seeds and applesauce, a little bit of coconut oil, vanilla, and blackberries. Mama, you got to have them blackberries in the blackberry chia muffins. Raw donuts. Woo, child, she's good. Well, so they're not raw, they're baked donuts. I just had Crystal. She runs Crystal Dawn Culinary. I'm blanking on her last name right now. But I just had her on, and she gets into she's got raw donuts in her book, and the picture is stunning, and I'm so curious. I hope to make them one day. You know, they're dehydrated and everything. It's Crystal Bonnet was on here, and talking about her book, The Art of Raw Desserts, 50 standout recipes for plant-based cakes, pastries, pies, cookies, and more. So you'll get to hear that interview sooner than later, my babies. But for now, back to Laura Miller and Raw Vegan Not Gross. So we got baked donuts in here, an applesauce, a chocolate glaze. Ooh, a picture of the donuts that looks oh so yummy, honey. And then we're moving into the to-go section here. So a lot of options you can make when you're on the go. She says one of the best things we can do for our bodies in the intro to the to-go section here. One of the best things we can do for our bodies and minds is to focus on nourishing them. I don't mean that in an abstract way either. Let's be honest. A lot of us had a lot of fear, anxiety, and guilt about food. With all these tricky emotions involved, it's easy to become obsessive about food, bargaining with oneself about what to eat or admonishing oneself for eating the wrong things. First of all, that is exhausting. And second of all, you deserve better. When you start thinking about what foods you want to eat in order to best support your body and mind, you're on the same team, remember? You start to feel more taken care of, less panicked, and more nourished. Now, I just got to tell y'all, I got real emotional reading that. The last, I'd say, I guess 15 years, I've been vegan since 2009. So yeah, it's been 15 years. Has been an incredible journey of self-discovery for me with food. And in the last like 5 or 6 years, I've really been transitioning into how I treat food, and talking about that food addiction with the granola, for example, right? Like I know that's a food that just always triggers me. Like it's so yummy to me that I'm out of control. So for me, it's a no-brainer. I'm like, get this out of my sight. I do want to be able to have it sometimes, and I should be able to have it sometimes, but I know it's hard for me to keep my hands off of it because it's just that yummy for me. So I asked David to keep it out of my sight. I don't think that's aligning here with what she's saying about that. I think I'm exhausting myself, right? So I'm actually going in contradiction of what she's saying, but that's why I got emotional about what she's saying, because when you start thinking about what foods you want to eat in order to best support your body and mind, you're on the same team, remember? That says everything right there. In this journey I've had, especially in the last 6 years, in the last few years, I've gotten invested in different protein powders and protein bars to sort of supplement for a high protein intake because I'd be lifting weights or something like that. And because I've been on a break from the gym because of my surgery, and before that I had a sprained shoulder, I've really been reevaluating my routine, how I spend my time, and the food I consume. And I'm really starting to approach food with a more intuitive lens than I have previously. And I kind of said a couple of weeks ago, since I hadn't been eating the protein bars, I was like, I'm going to go without these. Now I've been doing like low sugar protein bars because a lot of those are just really like a glorified candy bar. But I've been doing low sugar protein bars. They still don't taste that great, but I would do it just to get like my protein pop in the middle of the day. And so I've been going without them, and I've been eating what I want in its place, whether it's a cashew, date, and chocolate chip bar from Target, this Good and Gather one that David and I absolutely love, or it's an apple, right? A piece of fruit for that little snack in the day. And yesterday, because I still have a little stash of the protein bars, I was like, I kind of am like craving one of those odd tasting bars. So I had one, and I thought it was absolutely disgusting, and I'm not going to eat those anymore. No shade to anyone that does, but like, I'm so happy I felt like I was almost trapped in thinking like I've got to eat these bars when really I don't need to. And I'm very anxious to get back to my routine of working out and be eating foods that I feel intuitive about and feel good about, and foods that make me feel good, not just feel good about eating them, but they also just make me feel good, like in my daily life, because I've been doing that more now that I haven't been in my gym routine because I'm not like, oh God, I gotta fuel myself for the gym. I've just been thinking, oh, I need to fuel myself for my day. So I'm curious to see how this all transitions. So what she says there resonates with me. You're on the same team, remember? You start to feel more taken care of, less panicked, and more nourished when you start thinking about what foods you want to eat in order to support your best body and mind. So let's all get into that. So this starts off, again, this is the to-go section because I went on a little tangent there. Thank you for bearing with me. This is called Please for the Love of God, Body, Get Better Soup, aka instant noodles, just add water. So this is cool. It looks like it is. Well, let's read. She says, you know that, I haven't been sleeping or drinking any water or eating any vegetables, and now my throat feels sore. Oh God, I can't get sick. Don't have time to be sick feeling. Yeah, reach for this. It's super simple. Just throw the ingredients in the jar before you run out the door, then add hot water when you get to school or work. It's also packed with vitamins and minerals that your body needs to stay healthy. So this is dried mushrooms, kelp noodles, kimchi or sauerkraut, miso paste, hajiki seaweed, scallions, grated ginger, garlic, lemon. I love the idea of putting these fresh ingredients plus the dried mushrooms in a little jar with you to go and then adding hot water. I think that's genius. We got kale chips in here, always a good to-go snack. Collard green wraps with spicy dipping sauce, another great to-go item I love. An immunity bowl with quick pickled vegetables, featuring a gorgeous photo in here with pickled vegetables. Nori hand rolls, love me a nori hand roll with great veggies in there like cucumbers, carrot, jicama, avocado, red cabbage, great stuff. Including a sauce made of tahini, lemon juice, tamari, and miso. Love me that miso. A creamy jicama salad. I don't much get into jicama. What about you? Jicama, you thing? Are you feeling jicama? She's got a water hack in here, ways to enjoy water and things to add into it when you're feeling bloated or if your digestion feels out of whack, if you're fighting off feeling sick or achy joints. That's fun. Protein-packed granola bars. Granola bars, make them for that road trip. Apple rings. Yes. Love me some apple rings. I love to dehydrate some apple rings. And that's what these are. You can just slice up apples and dehydrate them. It's one of my favorite dehydrated snacks. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10. Next chapter is salads. She starts things off with a tomato pomegranate salad. Tomatoes, to me, pomegranates. I was going to say pomegranates. Well, I love tomatoes, but pomegranates, I just love adding them on any salad. It's not too sour ever. It's just the perfect little amount of tart and the texture of like the crunch of it. So add this to this salad. Here we got tomatoes and olive oil, white wine vinegar, garlic, grated garlic, and pomegranate. Gosh, that sounds so good. Carrot salad with lemon poppy seed dressing. And this is carrots shaved into thin strips with a delicious dressing that's got ginger, lemon, lemon zest, poppy seeds, maple syrup, and a little bit of olive oil. Shaved asparagus salad with lemon tarragon dressing. Sea veggie salad. She says, I have to admit that it took me a while to get into seaweed. Honey, you're not alone. Me too. Still taking me a while. Sometimes I'm like, ooh, this is good, but it's not something I can have on the regular. She says, I hadn't tried it growing up, and the umami flavors were new to me. Once I got used to them, though, I was hooked. It felt like my body had been craving them. Sea veggies are some of the most nutritious foods you can eat, packed with calcium, minerals, iron, protein, vitamin B12, and fiber, all while still being low in calories. These days, you can find them in most health food stores, but you'll find the best selection and prices at your local Asian market. So this is a great veggie salad featuring different seaweeds and arugula, thinly sliced cucumber, a dressing with tahini, tamari, sesame oil, maple syrup, and sea salt. I mean, that's the basics, and that's delicious. Orange watercress salad. Watercress, another powerhouse ingredient. Basic massage kale salad. We all love a kale salad. I do anyways. Massage, though. It's got to be massage. Y'all do your kale the favor that it deserves and touch it. Touch your kale. Give it a massage. It deserves a massage. It's going to break down those enzymes for you to easier digest. It's also going to be easier to chew when you massage it. So she's got a basic massaged kale salad in here. Hot pink kraut. So it looks like she's going to turn make some sauerkraut here and also add some beets and purple cabbage to make it, well, the cabbage is going to be the sauerkraut, but she's using purple cabbage to make it and a beet to get some color in there. I love a pink sauerkraut and a pink pickled onion, baby. Looks good on any dish and is so yummy and good for your gut health as well. Watermelon avocado salad. Again, we've got that a light, yummy fruit here and refreshing. Watermelon's so refreshing with that sort of luscious, creamy avocado cut into squares here, also paired with some cucumber on here, and a crisp green apple and fennel salad. I haven't gotten much into. I've used fennel, but not all that much. But that sounds yummy with crisp apples and that sort of light licoricey taste of the fennel. I can get into that. Ginger sesame salad. This looks like a slaw almost. Carrots and cabbage here with some jicama and some mint thrown in there. I love a good slaw with a little dash of fresh mint in there. Perfect, refreshing pop of flavor. Dressing made of sesame oil, tahini, apple cider vinegar, maple syrup, fresh ginger, nutritional yeast, and salt. She's also got some sweet peppers in here too. So lots of textures and flavors in this ginger sesame slaw. This takes us into weeknight dinners. And she says, when I was about 20, I went on a 5-week mountaineering course in Patagonia, Chile. I had already done a fair amount of backpacking at that point, but this was really next level. Oh my God, why did I sign up for this again? Stuff. 15 of us, mostly Chileans and Americans, traveled over remote mountains and glaciers through the Andes Mountains, carrying everything we needed on our backs. We had crampons on our shoes and ice axes in our hands, often on 4-man rope teams for safety in case someone were to drop into a crevice that had been covered in snow. It was scary and cold and really physically challenging, but oh my God, it was so fun, mostly because of the people. It was a crackerjack team of hysterical weirdos who I would otherwise probably never have met. We really learned the importance of cooking, not just for sustenance, but also as a morale booster when the crew had just battled through a rough, cold, and discouraging day. Having everyone huddled around the tiny stove and our dirt cooking and eating together was one of my favorite parts of the trip. I really like that this can be translated into everyday life. You could have just lived through the worst Tuesday of all time, but if you know you can go home and cook and eat with people you love, it makes it all a little easier to endure. Also, I recommend wine. She does. I don't drink, but she recommends wine. Now she's got a photo here with, I recommend non-alcoholic wine. I love wine. It's one of the reasons I don't drink. I love it so much. So I stand by her recommendation. I'm with her. And now I drink alcohol removed wine because there's so much more of it available these days. And I freaking love it. It's so nice to just have a glass of alcohol removed wine. But she's got a fun picture here of her with beets as a big old necklace around her neck there. Speaking of, her photos using fruit as fashion, essentially, and vegetables as fashion. But I love this take on weeknight meals. David and I, we didn't have a nice kitchen table where I'm currently recording for a very long time because we lived in a small apartment in New York City. And when we moved to Atlanta, we made it a priority to get ourselves a nice dining room table when we bought our first home. And we love it. And I'd say we eat dinner together probably 4 to 7 nights out of the week. And it's one of my favorite things. We sit down, we put our phones aside, and we actually connect. We talk about the food, we talk about our days, and we talk about, what we're going to do with the rest of the night and all that stuff like that. It really is beautiful. So I highly recommend the weeknight dinners with someone if you can do it. If you live alone, maybe you want to set up a little weeknight dinner club with your friends on Zoom. That can be fun. So we got great stuff in here. Stuffed poblano peppers with walnut crema. I love a stuffed poblano pepper. And here she's stuffing it with walnuts, mushrooms, onion, garlic, brown rice, cilantro, almonds, a little bit of salt and pepper in there. So good. Walnut balls in red sauce. This looks very yummy. It looks like a very thick sauce. It doesn't look like a traditional marinara. I wonder if this is raw. Let's see. Yep, sure enough. So this is one of the raw dishes in here. Oh, and I just noticed this now. So at the top of the recipes, she tells you if it's raw or if it's cooked. This one says mostly raw. So we got walnut balls in red sauce, mostly raw. And the walnut balls are made of walnuts, of course, cauliflower florets, flax seeds, onion, garlic, olive oil, apple cider vinegar, fresh parsley, cumin, tamari, salt, and mushrooms. And then that's getting dehydrated. And the red sauce is made of walnuts, sun-dried tomatoes. So raw chefs love to make a marinara out of sun-dried tomatoes, and it is great, does the trick. It's very robust in flavor and really hits home the marinara vibes. You put tomato in here as well, fresh lemon juice, olive oil, maple syrup, pepper flakes, and salt. She gives the suggestion to serve it with spiralized zucchini. As previously mentioned, I won't be doing that because we just donated our spiralizer, but maybe I'll shave off some noodles with a vegetable peeler into it and use it that way. I just felt like the spiralizer was taken up. We got like a really it was a pretty good sized one. It was taking up too much room in my life and I wasn't using it. So, hey, that is what it is. Cauliflower pizza on here. And this is a raw cauliflower pizza she's got on here. So she's making a crust with cauliflower and then using the dehydrator to make it. Looks so yummy. A pesto pasta, also raw. Cold avocado ginger soup, raw watermelon, mango gazpacho. Listen, not a gazpacho fan, but I am into this. Also, the picture is gorgeous. But she's saying, I like watermelon. I don't love watermelon. We got people in the world that love watermelon, and I support you. But you know what I do love? I love me some mango. And I love watermelon in a gazpacho. Like, I'm going to have watermelon. I like it in a juice. I like it in a gazpacho. I'm just not one to like sit around and snack on watermelon, which is too bad because it's a really great snack. Maybe that'll change one day. Because that's what we're embracing. Our journeys with food change, and we need to be open to evolving to what fits our needs as time goes by in different ways. Anyways, love mango, so I can be really into this because we're pairing mango with watermelon. I love that. Sweet potato enchiladas, and these are cooked. These are cooked. The filling is sweet potatoes, basically, and onions and garlic. That is an enchilada I can get behind. Yum, 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 yum. There's a sauce here. That sauce is made of tomatoes and chili powder as the base there. A little bit of cornstarch to thicken it up, and she uses corn tortillas in here. Bring these, I mean, this is straightforward sweet potatoes and corn tortillas, and I'm here for it. Seasoned nicely. That sounds really yummy to me. Avocado crema for those enchiladas. We got a golden gazpacho. She says, I'll often see magazine covers with tempting headlines like 50 ways to feel better now or how to get sexier in minutes. And then I flip to the article and it'll be things like wear bright shades of lipstick or put on a hot pink top. As a woman who always has lipstick on my teeth, as a woman who always has lipstick on my teeth, some of these suggestions don't really work for me, but I do think you can apply or even improve upon this principle by using it with food. Like if you're feeling crappy, why not try to eat the brightest and most colorful meal you can? Laura, good, good, good. I love that. As long as they aren't Jolly Ranchers, also good, good follow-up. You're probably going to feel better, like actually feel better. See, I love this gal. Her perspective, way of writing, and way of talking is everything I'm into. So this is a golden gazpacho, bright and colorful, made with heirloom tomatoes, cucumbers, chopped bell peppers, and an onion, garlic, basil, little salt, little olive oil, and little apple cider vinegar. So all really yummy ingredients in there. She's got a sweet potato curry next, followed by an asparagus soup and cashew sour cream. Was talking about that cashew sour cream, babies. Chances are if you've got a vegan cookbook, I'm guessing you do if you're listening to this podcast, it's most likely. You can open one of your vegan cookbooks and you're going to find a cashew sour cream in there. It's just something we live by. If cashews are an allergy for you, you can always make a tofu sour cream. You can make a sour cream with white beans. You can make a sour cream with raw, unsalted, unroasted sunflower seeds as well. So lots of options out there. You don't have to do it with cashews. All right. Next is a spaghetti squash mac and cheese. So this looks like she's using spaghetti squash as the noodle. We all know how I feel about this at this point. And then she's got a cashew-based sort of cheese sauce with it. So I love to make spaghetti squash. I like to put an Alfredo sauce on it so I can understand how this is appealing. Maybe I'll try it, a little mac and cheese sauce on spaghetti squash. Because really, a spaghetti squash is just a great way to get satiated and fill up. and use as a vehicle for any sauce that you want. So this is a great addition to use mac and cheese sauce. I love that. Next chapters, we're getting started with party foods here. So she's entertaining guests here. Great picture of her and her dog in here. Oh, I love it. I love a puppy. Spice mango chili wraps. If I saw those at a party, I would gobble them up, y'all. Mango and coconut jicama tacos, fresh veggie tostadas, endive spears. That's always an easy and fun party one to put out because it's a great 1 bite, 2 bite situation. You fill those endive spears up with some delicious things in here. It's carrots, celery, shallots, fresh mint. Again, with that delicious fresh mint. She's popping some pine nuts in here, and she uses her sesame miso dressing to drizzle it over the top. So that's a really fun party pleaser right there, if you ask me, and health forward. Listen, I like a mix at a party. I like a little health forward, and I like a little, not junk, but just like a little more, I don't know. I don't like it to all just be vegetables because then I feel like people are too hungry, right? But if you've got a good array of vegetables and not just crudité, and then like a nice hearty meatball or something. I love that because you're getting something hearty, you're getting satiated and going, oh my gosh, that's so delicious. And then you're eating something healthy, crunchy with these textures and bright flavors. And you're going, oh my gosh, that's so delicious. But you're not feeling gross, right? You're feeling really good and you're getting to eat at the party and talk and mingle without feeling nasty from just eating, food that is maybe very rich. So I love these party options. And here we got a ginger grapefruit granita, jalapeno pineapple granita. That sounds yummy. I love the combination of sweet and spicy. I think everyone does, but I'm really into it. Like a chocolate with chili in it. Ooh, love it so much. Recipes for a basic spring roll in here. So good. And then I'm seeing there's a photo of, maybe it's in the next chapter, so we'll find out, but it looks like root vegetable fries, baked fries, but I'm not seeing a recipe for it. So more to come. Let's find out. This next chapter is called Die Alone. Let's see what she means by this. She says, I've had a lot of weird jobs. I've been a park ranger, gas station attendant, furniture refurbisher, line cook, server, and spent the worst day of my life selling phone services door-to-door work. The best job I've ever had, though, was working for a small letterpress company in San Francisco. It was a close-knit item of about 10 hilarious close-knit team of about 10 hilarious, creative, warm, fun, and loving people whom I still consider some of my best friends. After working from home for so long, going into the office every day felt like summer camp. For some reason, one April, everything started going wrong for all of us. Christina got hit by a car while she was walking. Don't worry, she was fine. Stewie, Leah, and I all broke up with our boyfriends. Lindsay got kicked out of her house. And then the kicker, we all found out we were losing our jobs because the company was relocating. Everyone was a bit of a mess emotionally with all the upheaval. The good news is emotional upheaval is scientifically proven to make hilarious people even funnier. We started doing this thing where anytime someone said something depressing, he or she would follow it up with, whatever, I'm just going to die alone anyway. Never underestimate the healing power of humor and commiseration. While I'm by no means trying to promote unhealthy coping mechanisms, I will say that sometimes when you feel stressed or low, you will want to stuff your face with some food to make yourself feel better. Praise, sing it, heard. So why not do it with food that is actually going to nourish and support you and your body, rather than some junk that is going to make you feel worse? She gets it. She's into it. And then there's a really fun picture of her surrounded by grapes. The grapes are like a wreath around her face. I love it. I love it. I love it. She's so cute. She's so cute and fun. You have to watch her show, Raw, Vegan, Not Gross, on Tastemade. I think there's like 10 episodes only, but it's a quick watch. It's fun to watch. And, you're getting a big glimpse of her personality in here. There's a reason I'm reading all these excerpts because I really, it's a shame she's off social media, but I get it. But I want to celebrate her. So that's why I'm giving you such an in-depth look here today. All right. So the die alone foods that can nourish you when maybe you're feeling like you just want to stuff your face, right? Berries with milk. Good one. I love just eating some straight up berries. Now pour a little milk on them. That is satisfying. When I dip, you dip, we dip ranch. So a great ranch dressing here with cashews as the base. Keep your sweatpants, keep your sweatpants on tortilla pizzas. I applause for this. Okay, so she says, I consider these sweatpants food. The combination of the light, crispy crust with tangy tomato sauce and creamy cheese sauce, air quotes, is so or quotes in the book actually around cheese, is so comforting and satisfying. I like snapping pieces off to munch on while I'm standing in my kitchen in a full sweatsuit. Y'all, I am on board for a tortilla pizza any day, any time of the week, breakfast, lunch, dinner. I do not care. I support this 110%. When you have that pizza craving, and especially during this time, this really makes sense for this chapter, the die alone chapter. Because often if I'm depressed, I'm like, I'm gonna, and I'll do this because I'm a chef, and we've talked about this before. If I have a craving for something, I'm like, I'll just make it. Suddenly we have a pan of brownies in the house that we don't need. But sometimes I'll get a craving for pizza or bread. Last week, I made bread. I made a no-knead bread in a Dutch oven. We had fresh bread in a matter of hours. But I'll do the same with pizza. I know my pizza dough crust recipe from my second book, Epic Vegan, by heart now. I will start proofing that dough, and in the afternoon or evening, we've got ourselves pizza that we're making. So this is a great alternative to that because you're only making this one thin crust. So you're not going to stuff yourself or have all these pizza leftovers. You can make the one pizza you want and kind of be done with it. She does it in here in the oven. I'm going to share this, not to overshadow this, but I love the idea of this. Obviously, follow this recipe if you want to. She makes her own tomato sauce here, her own cheese sauce, all of those things. But what I did last week, because sometimes the tortilla is like a little floppy when you bake it in the oven. It gets crispy on the outside, it's a little floppy on the inside. And I've been sort of perfecting this for a few years now, so I'm going to talk about it. What I did was I crisped up the whole tortilla in a skillet first, an oven-safe skillet that could fit the whole tortilla in there. Did a little cooking spray so you get that crispy texture. You're not going to get it without that oil, right? So if you're listening and you're oil free, this one's not for you. You crisp it up on both sides. And then as it's crisping on the second side, you put your toppings on. And then you want it to get nice and crisp in the skillet, okay? Then your oven is preheating to broil. You pop that bad boy in the oven, let it broil, especially if you're putting even homemade vegan cheese or store-bought vegan cheese. That broil is going to make it melt as opposed to just baking it slowly. Put it on broil for like 3 to 5 minutes. Broiling your food, that is dependent on the oven. So be careful. You got to watch your ovens. Every intensity of a broiler is different. Mine takes 3 to 5 minutes. But so you crisp up that tortilla on the stovetop. Put the toppings on after you flipped it and you're crisping the second side. Then you broil it in the oven for 3 to 5 minutes. That is the crispiest, most delicious, but without burning it. Crispiest, evenly crisped tortilla pizza I've ever made. And she's getting into it in this one. I didn't mean to overshadow her recipe. Again, I'm just really excited about this whole concept because I've been perfecting it because, honey, we all eat our feelings, right? And this is one that I can turn to because I don't want to order that whole pizza and have all that leftover pizza. So the tortilla pizza is perfect for me. Moving on. She's got Eat Your Feelings popcorn variations on it with cheesy popcorn, cinnamon sugar popcorn, and caramel corn drizzle. I'm going to make that one. Sounds delicious. Ooh, there's a picture here with the caramel corn in it right there. Oh, it looks so good. I tell you, if you don't watch this podcast, sometimes you get a good look at the book when you watch it. Not that I'm telling you to watch it. I still think if you're watching, no shade, but like I don't personally watch podcasts because I think I'm just always moving. So I have headphones in as opposed to being able to watch it. So that's why I watch that's why I listen instead of watch. But we're putting the video out there for those of you that like to watch. It's there. But in this case, I get to hold up some fun pictures sometimes. Okay. She's got, I need to munch mindlessly Brussels sprout chips. Let's hear her talk about these because I'm skeptical. You'll love chowing down on a big bowl of these light and airy little leaves. They have just a touch of salt and a little bit of a kick. The hardest part of this recipe is actually getting the leaves off the little bulbs. I can see that. I like to do this with a friend while sipping wine. Then you have something to focus on while you chat. and you get a salty snack to nosh on at the end. Win-win as far as I can tell. I can see that being really yummy, but it must be tedious to tear the leaves off, but I bet it's worth it. Real yummy in the end of the day. Sweet and sour like my heart tamarind balls. This recipe is ridiculously quick and easy. In fact, the hardest part of this recipe might be getting your hands on some tamarind. Tamarind is nature's sweet and sour candy. You can usually find some at the Asian grocery store, or just look online. If you can't find the pods, look for tamarind paste or pulp. So my friend Ashley Madden, she's been on the podcast. She talked about both her books, Plant-Based Cookbook and Plant-Based Delicious. In her last book, Plant-Based Delicious, she has this sweet and sticky, I think it's a sweet and sticky teriyaki cauliflower that I'm obsessed with. I think teriyaki's in the title, but David and I have made it probably 4 or 5 times. I'm looking right now in the book to see if I can sticky teriyaki cauliflower bowls with edamame. That's the name of it. So she makes this sauce, and in it she used tamarind paste. I'd only used tamarind paste once before when I was recipe testing my pad thai cupcakes that are an epic vegan. And I ended up not using it because I was like, oh, this ingredient can be too difficult to source. But I went back to it this time around to make that sticky teriyaki dish. Obsessed with it. And now it looks like I might have another place to use it in these sweet and sour like my heart tamarind balls. So this looks like because tamarind paste is really delicious, y'all. I highly recommend, if you can find a few recipes to use it in, I highly recommend getting a little jar of it. Buy it online. It lasts a while. In this, she uses tamarind paste. She uses quite a bit of it, actually. A whole cup. Hey. And 1.5 cups coconut sugar. Woo. And shredded coconut and ground cayenne. Oh my goodness. Well, that's a lot of paste and a lot of sugar and little dry ingredients to make balls out of these. Maybe, hold on, let's see if it goes. I'm trying to see if it ends up. She said it'll create a thick dough. So great. Okay, creates a thick dough, and then you roll it into balls and then return it to the fridge, and it'll seize up a little bit more even. So great. So those are the sweet and sour like my heart tamarind balls. I just like that title. Yes, thanks. I'll have the whole tray, please. So she's got a halva in here. It's a tahini-based Middle Eastern confection. She says in here, it's sold in some bakeries, but most people have only ever seen it wrapped in plastic and sitting on a dusty shelf in a corner store. This version is creamy and fresh, packed with calcium from the sesame seeds and antioxidant from the cacao nibs. If you're feeling really fancy, you could even throw in some pistachios or cover it with chocolate shell. I have had this before. To me, it's almost like a fudge. It's very creamy, decadent, delicious, and you can put sort of whatever add-ins you want. She's got shakes in here that are mostly raw, made of coconut milk as the base. She's got a chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. Sweet potato fries. Found it. I found it. I knew that this was going to be in here. So she's got sweet potato fries and a beet-up. So I'm guessing it's a beetroot ketchup that you can serve with it. All right, we're on that final chapter, my friends, and we all know that I love it. It's sweets. And I love a sweets chapter, and I have such a sweet tooth. So let's read the intro on this since it's the end of the book. To get one last little word in from Miss Laura Miller herself. She says, in 2011, the private farmers market where I'd been selling my raw desserts was shut down. I needed to get my business fully legal so that I could sell my food in shops, but that required about $10,000, which I didn't have. I decided to launch a Kickstarter project to try to crowdsource the money. Keep in mind, I had never done any sort of self-promotion before, so this was incredibly frightening to me. Not only did I have to put myself out there, but I had to ask people for money. I forced myself to say yes to every opportunity to fundraise. So when a friend invited me to his singles dance class at a Latin dance club in San Francisco, I said yes. The idea was that I would bring samples, explain my Kickstarter, and people would donate. I got there while awkward middle-aged singles were filtering in and discovered that they didn't have a place for me. So they decided that they would put me and my samples on stage under a spotlight. Oh, bless. My heart is beating hearing this story, the anxiety this must have caused. She says, my friend Kendra, seeing how this was all about to play out, leaned in and warned me that this was going to be a character building warned me that this was going to be a character building experience. What a great way to look at it. Sweaty folks would come up between dance songs to feast on the chili truffles and lavender macaroons. They loved them, but people didn't let me get 2 seconds into my spiel before stuffing a couple cookies into their mouth and running the other way. At the end of the night, I had given away a ton of desserts, gotten 0 donations, and felt like a giant pathetic failure. I cried the whole drive home. Oh, sweet Laura. In the end, I did make my Kickstarter goal, but I spent a big chunk of it on sending the rewards out to all my supporters. And by the time I was done, I basically was right back where I'd started. So look, I'm not a good businesswoman. Definitely don't hire me to help you with your spreadsheets or whatever. But raw desserts, that's my wheelhouse. I can say with confidence that if you make any of the following desserts, you're going to be stoked. Awesome. So let's see what she's got. Oh, it's the banana picture I talked about. So remember I said I saw a picture of her online wearing bananas as a headpiece. I'm holding it up right now. How fun is that? How cute is she? Okay. She's got banana soft serve in here. So that's, that's an ice cream. I'm into it. Love an ice cream, guilt-free, delicious dessert. Banana cream pie, says mostly raw. Looks so yummy. Lavender cheesecake. I love this. She's got different layers in here. She's got a crust, and then she's got a white layer that's got a base of coconut meat, and then a pink layer with a base of coconut meat and probably beets, I would imagine. Yep, beet juice in there to get that pink layer. So this could be a fun one to make on Valentine's Day. And I will say that. So like, it calls for coconut meat. Coconut meat can be hard to source sometimes. Raw ingredients are probably the most finicky and hard to source sometimes, but it can be fun to learn some new ingredients and play around with them. So we've already talked about the tamarind paste, and now we're talking about this, the coconut meat of it all. It's really fun to get a raw book and sort of just pick a recipe every now and then and go into it and dive in. And I'd say if you're going to get a special ingredient, like look that special ingredient up. Like if you're reading a recipe and it calls for something and you're like, oh, I don't have that, I'm going to have special order it. If you're really concerned about being able to use it all, look that ingredient up in the index and see how many recipes it's in, and see if those other recipes are intriguing to you, because then you can make good use of that ingredient. You're not just going to buy it for the one recipe and then be done with it. You can buy it and be like, oh, I'm going to use it in these 4 recipes. So in order to do that successfully, you got to go to the recipe beforehand. So go to let's say it's 4 recipes and see how much it calls for. If each of them call for, let's say, a 1/4 cup of tamarind paste, let's just say, then you want to make sure that that product you're ordering is an actual cup of tamarind paste. And make sure you're not ordering like a 32-ounce bottle of it, which is going to be 4 cups, right? Because then suddenly you're left with what? 3 cups more than what you needed, right? So just like do some math, do some measuring, figure it out. But like if getting a special ingredient and not using it and investing the money in it is a concern to you, there's ways to make sure you use it. So don't just go, oh God, this looks really great, but I'm not going to make it because I'll never use that one ingredient. Check out the index and see what you can do with that ingredient. Anything's possible. Blueberry tart in here. Love me a tart. She's got these great tarts. Chili truffles. They look so good. Yum, yum, yum. Valentine's is coming up. Maybe give that someone you live a chili truffle. Chocolate avocado pudding, a staple in the vegan world. Chia pudding pops. Nutty butter cups. So she says the trick with these is to pour the chocolate mixture into the bottom of each cupcake liner, but then to tilt it around in all directions, letting it thin out and spread up the sides. The tilting ensures that the sides will be covered in chocolate, and it also keeps the base crisp and uniform as far as thickness. You want a perfect chocolate to almond butter ratio, after all. And you are right. That is what makes the best chocolate nut butter cup, is the perfect ratio, right? Has anyone had those new Reese's plant-based cups? Listen, I'll eat them because I love Reese's peanut butter cups, but they still didn't get it right. There's no reason it shouldn't be just like the original. So they're trying too hard, if you ask me. That's my own opinion. You can get mad at me if you want. I said what I said. You know what's good though? You know who got it right? The vegan Kit Kat mama. That ish is good. That ish is good. I ordered, I got them. I think they're available in the UK. I ordered them for Christmas for David's stocking, and of course 1 or 2 for myself. And Kit Kat got it right. Kit Kat got it right. All right, we got a nutty buttercup ice cream. This is raw, so it's going to be like an ice cream again with some Oh, she takes those nutty butter cups she made and she chops them up and puts them in there. How yummy is that? Lavender macaroons, chocolate cream pie, iced brownies. Well, this is interesting. Looks like a thin sheet of brownies with a chocolate icing on them. So it's dehydrated brownies with a chocolate icing on them, which is why it's mostly raw, because you've got those dehydrated brownies in there. Blackberries with basil and coconut cream. I love this because coconut cream in itself is very decadent and yummy. And this just has sort of a dollop of the coconut cream on blackberries, drizzled with a little balsamic vinegar. I mean, hello, sweet, tangy, a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of cream from the coconut cream. So good with a little bit of basil on there. Honey, let's get into it. Brownie popsicles. Huh. Okay, so these are like chocolate popsicles. All right, I'm into it. I like that. And listen, that ends our book. And we've got this really great photo of her, collage of her at the end, holding a big basket of produce and just giving us that Laura Miller smile. I adore this book. I adore Laura Miller. Of course, you can go watch episodes of Raw, Vegan, Not Gross on YouTube, or I believe if you go to tastemade.com, you can check them out there. But just look up Raw, Vegan, Not Gross on YouTube. All the episodes are there. It's a super fun watch, super educational and entertaining. And even though she's not on social media, her account on Instagram is still there. So I believe it's at I am Laura Miller, or of course you can just look up Laura Miller. You'll find her. It's going to be the gal who's using vegetables for clothing, so you can't miss her. And my friends, that is Laura Miller, raw vegan, not gross, all vegan and mostly raw recipes for people who love to eat. Go pick yourself up a copy everywhere books are sold, so you can. It's a great sort of exploration into the raw world, right? Because she's got a mixture in here. It's not all raw. There's some cooked foods in here as well. So if you're not ready to invest in a totally raw cookbook, give this one a shot here, and let me know what you think of it. Of course, you can follow us, the Instagram, the Keep on Cooking pod has its own Instagram. Trying to post the old episodes on there and get caught up. So it's a work in progress, but you can follow it at Keep on Cooking Pod. You can follow me at The Dustin Harder and find out more about myself, my show, The Vegan Roadie, and my cookbooks, all those good things at dustinharder.com. And until next week, keep on cooking and remember, it's nice to be nice. This has been a Muzzy Cat production.